Meeting to order, pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mayor Pete Pedersen,
Here.
council members Dave Dillon.
Here.
Lindsay Larson,
Here.
Norris Johnson.
Here. I'll call for motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
A second. Oh,
Go ahead.
Fred.
Any comments?
Was that Lindsay that said?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Norris, how do you vote?
Aye.
Lindsay?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Pete, yes. Under new business, declaring a vacancy of the council position. I think we already, where'd Mark go? Damian.
He's on the phone.
Okay. We already did that at the last meeting, but do we need a resolution?
We already did the resolution.
We already did the resolution,
Yes.
and Damian is not gonna be here on the 21st. Was that one of the resolutions I signed?
Yeah, the May
Okay,
meeting.
okay.
Mhm.
And Damian's not gonna be here on the 21st, but, let us know our options, and we're
Well,
talking about the vacancy, cause it's gonna be brought up on the 21st.
Yeah.
And we've already put it out for ad, okay,
yep. And we've had people already come in for applications,
applications,
and one has been turned in already.
okay,
So what we had done in the past when Lindsay filled Ken's position, we did the same thing. We went out
Yeah.
for the ads and they filled out the
But-
application and then it went to council.
yeah. But that vacancy was for a long time, a much longer time than this one is, 'cause when is filing for
August, I think.
August
Do you-
2nd to the 16th.
August what?
August 2nd to the 16th.
Is the filing,
But
Yes,
they're still filling 6 months.
right?
right.
Huh?
They're still fulfilling 6 months till the end of the year.
If that,
Even when they get voted in, they still have to
Yeah.
complete the year.
but
So
I would rather have the, voters decide instead of the council decide who takes that position, because
I believe we
to
still
the
have to
same
fill it
extent,
Voters will decide that fall.
that fall for that position,
But they
to
don't
start in
take-
January, but we still have to replace until the end of the year.
but
Yes.
along with that, and that's, the second, B on the list. Along with that, if a present person decides, you or Dave, who was up for reelection, decides for mayor, cause I already made the decision, I am not running.
I'm not up for reelection.
No, but Norris could run for mayor,
Correct.
and not file. But you or Dave, if you run for mayor, how do we fill that third spot then, is my question.
You do the same process with
Same
your Damian?
process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what time frame are you discussing here? You fill a city council vacancy, that person will sit till the end of the year. That person can file to rerun or not. If you're not going to run and Dave chooses to run or whatever, that would just be the normal cycle, and then his position would become vacant, and you either have to fill that one, or I guess.
Would you fill that by appointment, or could you say that the person that's on the ballot, say that the person that comes in
We
third
can't
fills
change,
it?
we can't change the ballot.
Huh?
We can't change the mayoral ballot that way.
It's
Can't say
either,
that the person who comes in second in the mayoral race gets the city council vacancy. I don't know if you guys have,
We can use that as a factor.
yeah, absolutely. That's-
Correct,
Yeah,
saying if
it's
multiple
not
people
binding.
applied for this seat, or
Right.
the election in the fall for that
Right.
open seat, take all that information, I think that's what we did before.
Sure.
Are we bound to appoint one of the applicants that applied?
Are you bound for this vacancy?
Yeah,
There's no criteria that you must appoint somebody who's applied.
there's no, or that we even have to appoint somebody.
Well, you do have to appoint somebody eventually. The question's gonna be, how long are you going to wait? So, it's not like applying for a city job, where you pretty much have to go with the applicants. You can use whatever criteria you want to use for filling the vacancy. You might run into some issues if you have a bunch of people apply, and then out of nowhere you appoint somebody else. That might raise some questions by those applicants, but it's designed to be a information gathering process so that the council can decide which person best fits the city's needs.
Okay. Then are there any other questions about that from the council people? Then on under new business, the Mayoral decisions on my positions, I stated that I was not gonna run, for mayor. This is my last year, and I was hoping not to want to run last year, but circumstances had me do that. And along with what we just discussed, I might, in a timely manner, resign. And then if somebody fills that position, and either Lindsay or Dave wants to take over the mayorship, then the voters that would vacate their position. So there would be a mayor's position open and 3 council positions open if I decide to resign.
Do you want to comment?
Yeah,
Okay. So part of that depends on the timing within which the council would choose to fill the vacancies. If that scenario were to play itself out, what would happen is upon your Honor's resignation, Dave would be appointed mayor pro tem because that's what was decided at the beginning of the year. He would fill that vacancy for the balance of your term. He could choose to run for mayor after that term is up, or choose just to run for city council again, or choose not to do anything.
or,
But
but if he takes over the mayor pro tem,
then his spot becomes vacant for the balance of his term, and then the council would go through the same process that it's going through right now to fill Corey's position, to fill his position, until the balance of the year is up.
okay,
Is your council term up?
No,
no,
Okay,
it's 2 years. Yeah.
okay. I think when I looked at it before, given the timing, that would have to be posted and filled at the general election, but I have to double check the timing.
Okay. Because as far as I'm concerned, I think it's the voters' right to, have a even transition. Okay, then on the mayoral position, before we move on, I'd like to address some concerns in topics that are further down on the line. And am I able to do that without opening up the position and the agreement that I made with the council?
Okay. If you're talking about the closed session portion of the meeting?
Yep.
Okay. So the meetings have been closed and are subject to closure based on the statutory citations
Yeah.
that are on the calendar, or on the agenda. Because you are the personnel involved, you have the right to have that portion of the meeting kept open. What you have to understand is any communicate or any conversations or subject matter is really limited to you and the employee's stated concerns. It's not an opportunity for somebody to critique a separate employee.
I understand that.
So, it's
But
not-
the only way I can speak to things that are further down on the agenda is to open that session right now.
No.
Why?
Well, it's at the end of the agenda. If the issue is you're wanting to address the concerns that were raised previously, you can do that, you can just decide not to close the meeting. Because you're the, not the employee,
Yeah.
you're the individual with the personnel. The issue is making sure that you're clear that you can only talk about your issues and addressing whatever concerns may be stated. You can't go after other employees.
No, that's fine. I have no intention of doing that. But I do want to voice what's going on. And if I decide to open that closed meeting up, that's at my discretion. And anything can be revealed in that of what agreement I made with the council.
As long as we're not talking about any other employees'
That's
personal
fine.
data, then we can, that's correct.
So do I have to move that or declare that now prior to us getting into the other concerns that are on the agenda tonight?
No, they're completely separate.
Huh?
They're completely
But
separate.
I wanna talk to them.
You wanna talk?
And part of the agreement was that I had to go through another council person on the agreement to voice any concerns that I have.
What are your concerns? What's the subject matter of the concerns?
Subject matter of the concerns is RecFest and also the chamber.
Okay,
And things that have been brought up and I've been accused of that I have been following. And I want a discussion on that.
okay, if you wanna talk about RecFest and the council has decisions that it has to make, about RecFest, you can have that conversation. If there's issues with respect to the chamber and the council has to make decisions with respect to the Chamber of Commerce, you can have that conversation and make whatever decisions you wanna make. If what you wanna do is go down a road where, you know, you're saying, this employee and I had this interaction, this employee and I had this interaction, this employee and I had this interaction, this employee said this, that employee said that you can't do in open session.
No, I can't. But once I open.
Nobody, because those employees would then be the subject of that personnel data. So, I guess, without knowing what exactly it is you want to discuss, I can't really advise you. As long as you're not talking about your interactions with employees.
Any certain employee, but as far as how RecFest is going on right now.
Yes, if you're talking about the procedural aspects of it and talking about what decisions you wanna make, that's fine.
Okay. And at what time can I declare that I want to open up that closed section?
Well, you would not close the meeting. It basically be.
But I wanna make sure I'm able to voice my opinion.
If you wanna, okay, if what you wanna do is ask me questions and get answers to those questions before you make any final decisions, close the meeting, we'll have the conversation, you ask me the questions, I'll give you the answers, if at that point in time you decide to open it, so be it.
Okay. So my decision right now based on that is that we will not go into a closed meeting. And that my position is that we, at any time during the conversations of the rest of the agenda, I'm freely able to voice the mayor's position on those agendas. And then at the end of it, we will do a summation of our closed meeting that we had back in August as a summation, which was required by law. So,
I'm not really following, Mr. Mayor.
well, my decision right now is that I am opening up the meeting, the closed meetings we had before that concerned me. Not concerned anybody else, but concerns me, and we will only address the concerns that were directed toward me and nothing else.
Okay,
So that is my decision, and if we wanna go in to that summation now, or move on to the other items on, which I will speak freely at,
I think
within the content. So if you want me to move the closed meeting up and have that summation now, we'll do it. Or if we just go follow the line.
okay. I think linear, trying to go through this in a linear fashion, addressing each subject matter as it appears on the agenda, just do that. And
Okay.
at the end, if you want me to give a summation as to what happened in the closed meetings previously, I will do so.
And I will have a say in that summation too. And along with that, being it's on the agenda, under A, the mayoral, not under D, the mayoral's position, that is a position I am taking on the closed meeting at this time. That it is open right now.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not following what you're telling me.
It's just saying that if something comes up under C and D, I will speak to it as the subject in context of what was the summation of the closed meeting with what you said. So with that being said, we're gonna move on. If that's understanding, and a chamber update on the parade.
I'm Shannon Millender. I'm the Chamber of Commerce Executive Director. I know a lot of you, but some of you I don't. So, I just wanna kinda give an update on, how the chamber has been this year. We have 24 new businesses, for the chamber this year. So, I'm getting out about, I'm really liking my position, working with the city, doing events, and we have a busy summer ahead of us. So if you have hours volunteer and wanna help out, let me or Mark know, the city. But also I just want to touch base on our food trucks, to get them approved for the parade. We have 6 food trucks and, the Boy Scouts of America to sell their popcorn and their pop and stuff. So I just wanna get those approved. Otherwise, the parade, I feel like we are ready for the parade, and, but you guys just reminded me, I gotta get your porta potty. Otherwise,
Yep, you have on your agenda the ones that already listed here, but Shannon and I talked earlier and she had a couple more, so I did those for you as handouts as well, so that we could get those all taken care of tonight. So then she'll be set to go. Even with the popcorn
Yep.
and the Boy Scouts,
There-
that'll be fine too.
we do also, the city wasn't aware that the Chamber of Commerce charges $100 per food truck vendor that comes to the parade. So we have worked with the city, the chamber will give them $50 per food truck this year, to offset their $50 transient peddlers application fee that they have for background checks done on the trucks that come in.
Overall, how did the process go?
It was tough, but I think just a lot of miscommunication. Nobody really knew what anybody was doing. Within the last week, we all worked together, got it done. It's been tough. But I knew the city did, when I approached them in February, or it might have been early March, about the food trucks and the parade, their peddler's application was 9 pages, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. They have food license through the state of Minnesota already, they go through all of this stuff. So the city did break that down, and they did add food truck vendors to their special event permit, which really helped us, or it will help anybody doing a big event in the city, because then they only have to fill out the background check portion of that application. This year, it is a little bit different because we have a lot of events going on where the city wanted food trucks, the parade, the bank. So we kind of all worked together with that, and that kind of made it confusing because we have food trucks coming from Minneapolis, a lot of food trucks for like the bank's event in August. So that was kind of difficult to start, but it's done. But yeah, so anyway, they listened to what Mary and Tammy listened to what I had to say about the food trucks and the application. They did change it, so it will benefit anybody having an event in the city moving forward. And we probably will change it 4 more times before it's right.
But is that in the ordinances? Because when you talked to me, and later I got accused of violating my agreement by saying something negative about a personnel, and I did not. And that's why I brought it up as part of the meeting tonight.
Yeah.
Because you were struggling back when I talked to you at the chamber event.
Yes, and since in the last week, the chamber helped, Tammy helped, to get it all under wraps.
Would it help with these, is it even possible for these food vendor things to just be, does that have to come to the council? Can it be you and Quinn approving that?
That could be.
Well,
If
and
you
I
don't
think,
know, you guys, Quinn does the background, you have the information.
yes,
You
Yeah.
guys can do it, then it speeds up your process,
and
doesn't it?
Tammy and I
And
just
with
talked
ours,
about
and
that
it
tonight.
talks about their, they need their Minnesota license, their food license, they need all that in their application, they need their insurance. So Shannon's been trying to round up a lot of that stuff, and she gets frustrated because these people won't give it to her, so that can be frustrating in itself. And those are usually things that we take on, and we'll get it from those individuals, and then they're good to go.
Yeah, and I
know,
think
so.
too, the problem in the past has been, they come for one event a year. They come for our parade. So the process has been totally different. And then this year, they're coming for the parade, they're coming for the bank, they're coming for lumberjack days. So it kind of put a whole different spin on when they're needed. And so with the way the ordinance is written, is how I read it and how it was explained to me, is that if they're coming for more than one event, then they are like a mobile food vendor in our city. So they have to go through the background check and the vendor application. In the past, it's never been like that for our parade. So for me coming in, people that have been coming, food trucks that have been coming to our parade for 9-10 years, that's who was backlashing me about it. They're like, well, I'm not filling this out, I've never had to. Well, processes change, things change. And then I started getting feedback from, well, the state of Minnesota legislator has this now. Well, I don't know that. So it was miscommunication. Tammy didn't know that they pay us, the chamber, to come in for our parade. So that, so the chamber agreed to pay the city $50 per food truck for our food trucks this year, and then next year, the city will take on the food trucks for the parade.
I take that stress away from you.
Is it in our ordinance, that fee and schedule for food trucks?
Yes.
It's in our schedule.
I think that, like Dave said, that's something we need to address and then look if we need to change an ordinance or just a resolution to streamline that process.
But now, see,
Because we
Yeah.
do get people who come in and they've missed the deadline to get on the council agenda.
Yeah.
And they gotta wait
Right.
a
And you
month.
don't, right, and you
And all
don't,
we're gonna do is agree with what you and Quinn said.
yeah,
I mean, you guys got the information, I mean, it's silly,
Right.
it's not like,
right.
Yeah.
So
but,
that could be streamlined much easier.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, yeah, that needs.
but to the same extent, if they're only coming in, like you said, for one event, which happens at Rec Fest, and we have a state examiner to come out and examine our vehicle, our food trucks and everything, then that person does not have to do anything through the city. As long as it is on the permit as a one-time, that they're only coming here that one time for Rec Fest, is my understanding of what you said, that Tammy told you, right?
The one-time permit.
It's a 14-day.
It's a 14-day
Yeah.
permit.
Yes,
Yeah, it's 14
but
days. that they can-
they do not have to go through the city if they're listed, because the state is already coming out and examining them.
But that's not what our ordinance says.
our ordinance says they still need a permit.
They still need that
Still need it.
14-day permit.
And I think that's
Yeah.
always been the case, it just,
Yeah.
it hasn't.
It hasn't
Well, we
been, it
just
hasn't
haven't
been
had this
followed.
many food trucks
Yeah.
coming,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, coming multiple times and,
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
problem.
I mean, we have
It
the
is.
ice cream lady who comes every year
Right.
and she gets on the, she's always approved by the council, so
Yeah.
that was just the regular process that we've done.
Yeah, and I think too, a lot of the food trucks are local this year, which is a great thing to have.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of them wanted to have that year-long permit because they wanna be at the events here. So it is a good thing to have.
Mhm.
I just think there was just a lot of miscommunication and the city not knowing what the chamber was doing and,
Right.
and vice versa, so.
Good.
Any other comments?
And this was to approve the kitty parade too, so that was
Oh, yeah,
all there.
Yeah.
That was in the package as well.
And one of the persons is paying $100, but the other people aren't?
no, all the food truck vendors pay the chamber $100 fee to be in
And
our,
then you're turning the 50 over to the
yes,
City.
city?
yes. The Boy Scouts of America is not, the Boy Scouts of America is $50, cause that's nonprofit. So,
Is that,
but they don't need a license.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's nonprofit.
okay. So at this time, are we gonna approve this or that further down on the agenda?
Nope, we just have to approve all of their, food trucks and the kitty parade.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
Who was the second?
Lindsay?
Lindsay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Lindsay, how do you vote?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Thank you.
Pete? Aye. Norris?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Um,
Thank you.
do we need to do the roll call voting?
I don't think we do anymore.
don't. We don't need-
That can be a decision of the chair. either way is what I got back. We can do,
You have to do roll call voting if one of the council members is
Yeah.
participating via telephone or IT.
yeah,
That's,
but we can do whatever the chair feels comfortable. And it's not law, but I have chosen to do roll call vote.
that's fine.
And that's,
I didn't make copies yet.
Oh, okay.
and I will continue to do that.
Okay.
Thank you for
All right,
everything.
thank you.
Good to see
Thanks.
membership up and stuff. Good job, thank you.
Okay, moving on to Breakfast. We had a meeting the other night, and I'm gonna pass out something that Breakfast received
Dave.
from the city on internal controls of events. And this is for all events, even the ones that you have just approved now. And, who came up with this event that these rules, that I got from Jessica?
I did.
You did, okay. I don't think, and the Rec Fest committee, and this is why I wanted to address this, cause there's some things in here that if every event, has to go through what is in here, and this is specifically designed with Rec Fest in mind as you read it. It's, outrageous as a policy. And the other night, when we had our meeting, the whole Rec Fest committee was ready to say, here, city, you can have it. And
Response to that is, are you not wanting to follow the policy because there's fraudulent activity going on?
now you're accusing me of fraudulent activity.
I asked a question, I did not
Okay.
make an accusation.
The
So
accusation,
the state auditor specifically says this is something that needs to be in place for the city, for
Okay.
all events. This
For all
doesn't
events.
affect the chamber,
so
this is city.
this is for all events.
City
that
event.
collects
City events.
money.
It already is school events. This is what happens at a school game, an activity.
Okay,
All tickets are
This
numbered.
is not an uncommon practice by
Okay.
any means in any financial organization. Ask Lindsay, she works at the bank.
okay, that's fine. Then we're gonna go over some of these responsibilities. And,
Can I ask a question?
yes,
My question to you, who
Could you-
did this, I've been on the committee.
oh, Pauline,
Pauline,
name,
your name?
Mollet,
How do you spell your last name?
Mollet. I've been on the Rec Fence committee for 9 years, and the way this reads is you're gonna have city employees who get paid collecting all the money. Do you know how many hours they're gonna have to put in down there?
My understanding is Mary is there for the duration of what the event
But
hours are
Mary
gonna be
cannot,
that
Mary
require
cannot
money to be
handle all of the
collected.
money. Have you been down there?
We have a process in place where money will be only collected at one location. The reason we're doing that is to eliminate the exposure to theft. And I'm not accusing anybody of that, but it's a standard process where two people are always involved in handling
Right,
cash.
I worked in the financial for 28 years. I know about dual
And I'm not trying to
control.
make it a more
And
difficult
I'm not
process.
trying to get upset, but I'm just like, you're making this and you've never even attended the event and you don't even know, do you know the line of people that is waiting to get in? And ask Mary how it went last year.
I've been working with Mary on
I
this.
know, and ask her how it went last year. She can't do it. If nobody else here can handle that money,
I did not specifically say no one else could handle it.
Yes, you did.
Yes, you did.
Here it is.
we
No,
read it.
listen.
Yes, you did.
My appointment was to Mary to be the main contact. From there,
And it
As
said a
the
city
activity
employee will
person.
only handle the money.
No volunteer will touch money.
I said.
And we can't
unless-
sell our t-shirts at the band shell, it has to be at the
I'm
gate.
not trying to make this more difficult. The point was is that
Well,
we
then
would
why don't you
implement
come
a
down
process where money was limited, tickets would be sold, wristbands would be sold. If you go to other events, it's a very common practice to have
No, it's
tickets
not.
at a location where you turn it in for an item. I've been to many events and it is a thing.
So have
So have we.
Wristbands for getting into wine tasting and beer tasting, things like that. We need to have some kind of count of inventory. What are we selling? What are we bringing in? That
But
hasn't
if
been
we,
done in the
if
past.
the rec.
Whoa, it has been done in the past.
Not on an envelope, written on an envelope is not done in the past.
But if-
There's
Oh.
no sales totals, there's no record of what t-shirts were sold, how many t-shirts were received and sold at the event and what's left, there's none of that.
I give
Where
that,
are the extra t-shirts?
huh?
Where are the extra t-shirts from the last 9 years or 10 years?
And what are you gonna do with them?
They're city property, you cannot give them away,
How are they city property?
because the city purchases them.
Isn't
No.
the city just, the city,
The
is
city
it
writes
the
the check.
but can the
The
city
Rec
not?
Fest is a city-funded event. By law, the city is not allowed to give away city property unless it's to a nonprofit organization, and I don't know where they were given to.
Well, but
It-
that's only happened in the last year or two, because we were
I
going
understand that,
fine.
but my point
But
is, things
can't
are
the city-
happening that are not by law.
But can the city not just be a fiscal holder of the money for rec
No,
fest?
that's not what we do, we're not a fiscal agent. We're a
No.
city.
We're
Maybe
not.
we have to move it out of the city, possibly.
Then that would be the
That-
option.
Which
The
would
option
really
would
be
be to
sad.
take it away from the city and create your own nonprofit organization, handle it the way
But
you
what I'm
want.
saying is that you don't even know the concept of why it was even started. And why we
Do
promote
I
the
need to
band
know
shell.
all of that?
Yes, you do.
Yes.
To
Yes,
understand the
you do.
financial.
Internal control is key to the,
Yes, I
to
know
all
that.
of our financial statements.
I know that.
Every
Okay.
And
nickel that
I
goes
wanna
through
make
here
it
must
clear
be
that
accounted for.
This falls under my responsibility here, so if you don't want the rec fest fund under the city, that's fine. Or I will just leave the city and you can do what you want.
Okay.
There's that option.
The purpose of this, first of all, it says to safeguard public funds.
Yes,
Not one taxpayer dollar or public fund has gone into RecFest since day one. RecFest committee has raised every penny for it, and matter of fact, has made substantial contributions to the city from the RecFest fund to redo the band shell and many things down there that we have done and purchased. And so there is no public funds. We did write grants, and that's when the history of RecFest was, it was under the park commission, and then it broke away because some people wanted to be on park commission, and some people wanted to be on RecFest. And that broke away. But if you look at this, and this has been brought up, as for all events, and I wanna go through a few lines and show you how ridiculous it is, and the things that are wrong with it. First, no, I'm gonna go through the lines, because if you do this for all events, you're gonna lose all volunteers. The number one, the treasurer will designate the administrative communications specialist. As treasurer, you do not have that authority to designate. That is authority of the city manager to do it.
And I gave her that authority internally.
Well, this is not what it says. Line 2, only trained, hey, wait. Only trained employees will be allowed to accept cash or cash equivalents at any city event. That, on number 2, says only trained employees. So you must employ everybody that's gonna go up to a car and get money.
I also believe in there it states somewhere that trained volunteers can also do that as well.
It does not say
In number 6, it says volunteers will have limited authority to handle cash.
limit the authority.
Yeah, well,
But-
that's, yeah.
That's the difference of that.
That basically is saying they can take cash, they cannot take cash home with them or take it to the bank.
That's not what it
Then
says.
that is not what it says.
Well,
I'm sorry that it wasn't
Common
that specific,
sense.
but it, I mean, do you want me to put it in step-by-step writing?
I think it has to be.
The administrative communications specialist must be present during the merchandise event and ticket sale hours at the event. That means that person is gonna have to be there from 8 to 8 every day, and even greater,
8 to 10:30.
okay?
Selling t-shirts.
The case, then going down, the case, that box or bag never to be left unattended. The administrative specialist will be assigned as the custodian of funds and responsible, so it can never be unattended by her. Volunteers
no,
will
not
have
attended by her,
limited,
unattended in general,
Unattended in general.
not by her.
and it never has been.
So then what's the issue?
The act,
That's not a problem.
it is a problem, because
You're already doing it.
what?
Your cash box is never left unattended.
If it's in somebody's car, is it unattended?
Shouldn't be in someone's car.
Should it be in somebody's car?
Where are you gonna keep it at all times?
The designated city employee.
It
that is
should
to
be in
handling
a
the
locked,
cash.
safe location at City Hall. Should it not? It's an event.
During the event,
Which becomes city money.
okay,
During the event, we're gonna
At
have it
the
in
end of the
locked
day, the
City Hall.
cash
No,
should be
during the
taken
event, it would be
up to
at-
City
During,
Hall.
yeah, right.
Right.
During the
but
event.
then you get down,
Pretty simple.
the change fund will be kept in a locked drawer and secured safe with limited time. And this is written directly against me and my involvement in RecFest. Well, assign a cash box to each person, but then you get over on number 17, the administrative communications specialist will be responsible for transporting the deposit bags to the administrative communications specialist. How does,
That should read treasurer, wouldn't it be?
Yes.
Yeah, it very well could be a typo, I apologize for that, but at the end of the day, the point is that two people are always involved in any cash transaction. Somebody's double checking somebody else's work, they're
Okay.
sure the cash is there,
and
the
that,
sales are reported accurately,
yeah,
and the money is stored here at City Hall at the end of the day.
And-
Every day of the event.
and-
So the money doesn't go home with anybody, as it shouldn't be handled by one person in particular.
and it never has been, except, no, wait, just a minute. It has been, we have had numbered tickets, we verify them every year.
I've
Just a
never
minute.
seen these records, I've never seen them.
I
All I have seen is the envelopes that come back to the city with the cash in it, saying what was sold for what, and that's it.
and how many came in on this date?
I've never seen that.
But then you didn't look back beyond last year.
This is what you gave last year.
Yes, and you know why I gave that? I was barely down there last year because I was over in ER.
Well, Mary was there last year, supposedly taking care of all of it.
Right, and she did bring back Thursday night's thing, but every other year we have, and then last year was a big problem in that there were 27 mistakes made on the registrations where some people paid for part of it here and part of it there and part of it online. And it was the first year we did it online, and it was a mess. And it's the same way this year. And then you get farther down on the gate receipts responsibility, all sales will be in one location. That's impossible.
Why? Why is that impossible?
Have you
To have
been-
one spot to sell the tickets to go get your t-shirt over there. So you have a control in place.
It's,
If you don't wanna follow it, fine, that's your choice. This is my recommendations for the event this is the council's decision to make, not mine.
no, this is all events, just not Wreckfest. Remember,
As far as I know, the Rec Fest is the only event that collects cash at the event. All the other events, cash comes to City Hall prior to the event. I don't know of any other event that sells anything. Am I wrong? I don't.
We don't have
I'm not
anything.
sure, but
We don't have any other events that sell tickets to anything.
But if
It's
it's a
free
matter of
to the
just
public.
having dual
Well, running in the
control,
rock, yes.
you know,
There's
if,
reason.
like you said, there's like three
What?
bullet points, then why don't you rewrite it and just make it simple? Because this, how are you gonna comply? The very last compliance says that failure to comply with these procedures will result in loss of privileges. Who's gonna be down there policing this? And if you can't, comply, if you have no one policing a rule or a law or anything, it does no good. So the best is to make it simple, that ordinary people like us who have volunteered hours upon hours to bring over 100 campers into this city, who spend hundreds of dollars at your gas station, at your grocery stores, yes, they do.
Well, with gas prices $5
And,
a gallon, they
I
will list
mean, every year, there's 100 campers down there. And the majority of them are from out of town. And so to make it, I understand dual control, I get that, I know, we've always done that.
and we have done everything that's on here.
Everything has went smoothly until last year, when the city
So
got
I
more
don't
involved.
understand the problem then, and
It's
I
this,
came up with this because I didn't have anything else to go on.
Rewrite it so
Well-
that it's easy to understand.
Is
The
it,
auditors are the ones that will find this as a finding in our audit because the money is not under control.
Well, then the city's, you're gonna have a
Well,
lot
I'm
of
sure-
cities down there paying them.
It's under control.
That's what will happen.
It has totally been under control.
It always
So-
has been, and if that's the way, then the city will have to pay
So
their
it's just
employees.
an easier way to make sure that cash transactions are accounted for.
Right,
And at
and
the
we've
end of the
always done
day, the cash comes to City Hall. That's the one step that probably wasn't being done in the past. So that's just a procedure. We want to make that clear, that it comes to City Hall.
Just so people don't think it went to somebody's house, it in the past
Absolutely.
did go to the bank.
Yes.
We took it to the bank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I go,
Yeah.
I went to the bank instead of.
Just to
Yeah.
make it clear that people don't think we took it.
Right, yes. And
There
that's-
has
and
been
you should
years
be-
that I have taken the bag and got it ready for the next day at home.
Right, and that's a
But
procedure
Cindy
that shouldn't be
counted money.
done, just as a safeguard to all of you, just in case everything doesn't add up. You know,
But everything
it's only
is written.
safeguarding you as the volunteers. It's a great safeguard.
But
So
every,
may I ask a
So
question?
simplify it.
As a
Simplify
volunteer
it.
coordinator this year, with these new rules, then is it understanding we will have 2 city employees there doing dual control? And I can tell my volunteers at the gate, we don't need them? That's my question.
Well, you're gonna want your volunteers because you know you're gonna need them for,
but
But
that's
at
the
the gate,
So-
is when you're gonna be taking, the money.
The intent
but then the
also
other thing we could do at the
um,
gate, when you think about it too, is if you have a time limit. At most gates, you have a time limit to purchase from noon to 8 PM at night.
No, you don't.
And
I mean, if you have
apparently,
tickets at 8:30 and not more line.
right,
That's a wristband that they continually can go to the line at, that's why they buy the wristband, they have the wristband, they can.
And we did that. We had number bands for every one of them,
And then
right at the
I
thing.
get that, but I've never seen, in my experience from last year, there was no record of the starting number and the ending number to compare to the dollar amount that you turned in for those sales. That's all I'm asking for, is just a little bit of check and balance here with what's happening.
But last year was different because of the city taking over the gate, and from Dustin, who I lost on the committee, him and I have probably put in more money into this event out of our pockets than you'll ever realize. If something was short, matter of fact, I had to tell Dustin to at least get the website paid for that he paid for 2 years ago out of his pocket. And he said, no, I said, no, it's a city website. He had a fight and got some nasty reply back of it, even to get it paid. And then the city wanted to do away with our website and not redo it and change our website. You know,
So did the city pay for the website then?
they finally paid Dustin.
Okay,
After
so, but now you just said
Passover.
earlier that there were no city funds involved in RecFest. and
No,
Now you're saying,
the city paid it out of the RecFest account.
okay,
The
It's
rec,
all right,
out of the
out of
city
RecFest
funds.
account.
It's city funds.
yeah. Could I make a suggestion? Pauline, I mean, you got history in numbers. Could you and Jessica get together and try to iron out the differences and try to,
I would be happy to do that.
because I mean, this is
Couldn't
a
it just be a few documents?
Yeah, we're both retired from financial, there's a reason I got out of it.
I understand that, yes, very clearly.
But what I'm saying is, I understand dual control, of course you
Yeah.
want, anytime you have money, you want dual control, and we have been doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if that didn't get relayed to you, but
Yeah.
you cannot give 3 pages of this. I don't know if the council, had you seen this prior to this?
No,
You hadn't even seen it, so you haven't even read it. You don't even know what it says. How can you, it is so mundane over and over and over that you need to simplify it, just make it 4 bullet points. Yes, you need to do this, you need to do this, and trust the people that have been doing it for years that they are then going to do it. I'm not gonna trust to do this because I can't even understand half of what it's saying. You know, if you want people to follow rules, you need to make them simple so they understand them.
Pauline,
No.
can I interject a second? I
Sure.
think just to make it simple, and say all the city is asking for in 3 pages, whatever it is, the record keeping of the funds coming in. They have nothing that they can look at to
Right.
justify the numbers they have.
Right.
So this is a way of getting record keeping for the auditors.
All I gotta do is make a spreadsheet, you know,
Hey.
you make a
What's the saying is,
spreadsheet,
in the
you
past,
fill
they
it
haven't
in,
seen
and it's
this.
simple as can be.
I know it's as simple as can be, and I understand all that,
But then we
it
have
needs
to
to be.
redo this and not have this.
okay,
I mean-
but Pauline, you're dwelling on that. Let's address the issue.
well, the issue
We
is,
have
The issue
evidence
is
that this
just
is what we
record
have to
keeping, that's
follow.
all it is.
My guess is that I've not been aware that this would be done in the past. From what my experience is, it hasn't.
Correct.
The records I'm getting reflect there's no.
what records have you
We
got?
had an envelope with written dollars.
This stuff that you handed in last year.
Okay, and that was handed in because I was not able to, for the first year, because I was so ill, I could hardly be down there more than 30 minutes. And at the same time, we had the city where 27 mistakes were made on the registration and all that. When we got handed this, and I showed the committee the other night, they were ready to say, hey, let somebody else do this. If you want to ruin an event, ruin an event.
Well, and I think that's been brought to my attention on city, and it happened to me. The city website isn't that user-friendly to fill out forms for events. Even registering for a park pavilion, never got sent through, so I think there's glitches in the system.
Well, that-
Are you talking about the new system that we
Yeah,
integrated?
yeah, just renting a pavilion.
Okay. Have
so I
you
think-
voiced those?
Mary,
To
I let
Mary?
Mary know about it.
Okay.
But, I mean, we got it figured out, but I think there is,
There's like 12 rentals every day that use that system. It's been, in my experience, it's been working awesome.
Yeah, I've used it
Yeah.
multiple times too, it's really
I was
nice.
handed a stack of papers like, this is what's this weekend.
well, yeah, I'm not saying that the new system isn't wonderful to eliminate
That's the
paper.
thing
I'm
that's
just
happened.
saying, I think,
And our website's brand new and awesome.
yeah. I'm just saying, I've had experience with it not working.
I think it's just change, and not everybody likes change. Now,
Well,
whether some of these changes have been not followed in the past, and we're making them to be followed more, I think that's more or less the issue here. It's not that it's anything new, it's just that I think it's just being implemented more, and again, some people may don't have to change.
So a proper spreadsheet that would document ticket sales, numbers, money in, money out, deposited here, and we're good.
And I have that,
And
every year except last year.
No, you
Then
didn't.
why hasn't the city seen these spreadsheets? I've been here for
30
years, I
30 some
honestly
years.
cannot say I've seen a spreadsheet come through City Hall.
I haven't, I've been here
I'm sorry. I
5.
haven't-
What do you mean by a spreadsheet?
It would document
A document of your
That's
starting
exactly
money.
what I'm talking
Yeah,
how many tickets sold that way,
Yes.
number
Yes.
started here, number started in, money that matches.
I'll
The
bring them
next
into
day,
you,
That's
Well, that's
what,
just
that's
it.
And
what
you-
everybody needs.
and you've gotten them every year.
No,
You have,
Are you looking at me?
the city has.
this is what we got,
I've never.
That-
again.
Last
This is all
year,
we got. No, even the years before, it wasn't broke
Tammy,
down. in
I
the
will bring
spreadsheet.
them into you.
Well, that would be good.
This is ridiculous, and this is just another accountability of what the closed meeting, and that's what I wanted to make sure that I could talk about
I
this.
think the bottom line is, if RecFest has done this stuff in the past, fine and dandy, bring in your records. That's all we're asking for is accountability here with the money.
Okay.
So if you've been doing it, there shouldn't be any reason to be.
I give you a total summation of how many people come in the gate on Thursday, Friday, and that, and one reason Dustin got off is that the new spreadsheet that was created last year didn't give us totals at the bottom, so we didn't know who was being paid, who wasn't being paid, what they paid for, how they paid for, you know? And the events coordinator, under their job description, was to work with the committees and not dictate to the committees, you know, if we're following something, fine, or if you have a suggestion, that's fine, you know?
Well, I think you're kind of missing out the whole thing, because Jessica just did a 3-page suggestion, and now you guys are just cutting her down.
A 3-page suggestion for what?
But you're to, as a city treasurer with city funds. And if you guys can't understand that coming from a committee, maybe you shouldn't be on the committee either.
I also,
That's fine.
the people who are doing it though know they've been doing it for quite some time. This is new and I've never seen this either. If they have suggestions to offer, I mean, I think we should be open to listening to that, being that they're the ones that kind of, run it and have been. I agree with the dual control, like you said. I mean, we have to do that and have that in place. This is a lot.
It's a lot.
It's all repetitive, I mean.
Yeah. But if you do have,
Right at the end.
I think, let your suggestions know and kind of work together. I think it's a communication issue.
But that's what, it would have been nice had somebody just, I think the city probably knows when we have RecFest meetings, or you could easily find out with the mayor being on the committee, that you could come to a meeting and say, going forward, guys, we're starting a new year, this is kind of what we need. Instead of 2 months before our event, we get handed 3 pages and you either follow this or if this is what happens. So lack of communication is 100%. But it sounds like that was a problem with the chamber too. So where is that problem, where is the lack of communication coming from then? You know? Right?
I agree, but I also think,
So-
but then both sides are at fault.
Correct, but we didn't know there was a problem. That was the problem.
Well, you wouldn't because you're in a mode, what
Okay, so
you've
there was
done
a
year
So if
after
there was a
year
concern
after
last
year.
year, then why
So-
wasn't somebody coming to our meeting and saying, you know, we need to change? Give us time to
As-
go through it. Now
I'm
we've
gonna
got-
tell
this
you
is- we've got these
this
bans
as
coming,
fact.
and we've got people
When
signed up.
auditors look at these books, they're gonna say, this is an internal control finding,
I get that,
period.
but lack of communication
And-
is huge.
Communication for someone who's trying to make something better and she gets bashed for it, what good is that? Rather than try to communicate and work together is the biggest thing.
But all
But
these
I mean,
things were
if you
followed,
want it
Tammy.
to be streamlined, then it can be streamlined. It doesn't have to be 7, 8 pages long.
Right.
But I mean, that's your point, correct?
But now
Is you
we're,
want it
we're on the
streamlined.
downhill slide of the event. I mean, we're in the final, you know, the last month is like,
Right.
it's so, this couldn't have been brought to us in,
So,
you know,
easy enough.
February or whenever, so that you have time to kind of look at it. Right now, I sure don't want to work the gate.
Tammy, so what
know.
what can we do to resolve this? I mean, what
It's
I mean,
very simple. I mean, do we have the technology to be able to take payments much easier than
Right.
you've done in the past?
Well, the first thing I.
What a blessing that is to you as a volunteer group. Not having to deal with a whole lot of cash. You can deal with credit cards now. We're
Except
moving
when
into
the
a
people call and
technology
they say it
phase.
doesn't work.
Yeah,
How many of them?
Yeah.
There's,
last year there were 27, and now this year I'm fighting it again.
Even if they, can it be set up, I just, why is this so difficult?
yeah.
We do this
Yeah.
at school, every event we host. You have a spreadsheet, tickets are marked down every day, your tickets are marked down. You start at 100, you end up at 113, there better be $13, 13 people that match.
Right.
And we have done that with the ticket sales day.
But I
I
think
know.
that's
And
where the
I will show you
problem
that.
is.
To go to-
I
That's all I'm
have
saying.
But you have those documents. They're not here, so we don't see them.
I turn them in every year. Cindy and I, for years, sat and counted money and put it in envelopes and matched it up to the ticket sales and boom, 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 this. We went and matched everything up with Artie down at the stand. And that's their only sales. Now in this thing, they're asking for ticket sales on the pizzas that the Boy Scouts are selling. The Boy Scouts are selling the pizza,
Are those pizzas donated from Haggis
yes,
to start?
yes.
Yeah.
And they're preparing them, and they're, get the money for doing it for us. Ridiculous.
As far as communication goes, I mean, I've heard talk for some time now, I mean, probably over a year, that there's a problem with RecFest. You've heard that same talk, as it's happened in council meetings, or, so.
What
you-
problem?
That, the handling of the financials. And you could have relayed that to the RecFest committee. I mean, you've been aware of it, that there's been problems,
There was no problems till last year when I was sick. Honest to God. And last year, the problem with the money was also the problem that we had to straight out. The 27, that some were registered partly here, partly there, not knowing when they were coming in, or any of that, because of the new system that the city put in place at the gate. And we're running into the same problem this year. I got 3 phone calls just this weekend asking me, is my registration in? And I go, no, you paid, but I don't have a registration. No, you paid for camping, but you didn't pay for your tickets, you know? And that's throughout North. And that's what caused a lot of problems last year in trying to match up everything. And me being sick and not being able to do the counts daily like we've always done. I have an envelope with probably, we have 6, 7, the committee has an envelope, 6, 7 different armbands. And it's written right on there, and only 50 are given out to the gate so that they're given out in sequence. If one's destroyed, we keep it, you know? So all those were in place, you know? And go from there.
So if we have that documentation, so the gate sales are documented just like that.
Yeah,
And at night, those numbers match, they're put in a
Yeah.
bag, there's the money, boom, done.
yeah,
T-shirt sales are right over there by the band shell. They start out with 64 T-shirts that day, they sell 13, that's tallied, the money matches,
No.
that bag's done.
we don't do the T-shirts daily. That bag stays intact. That is done at the end.
Well, maybe it has to be daily this time. And then at least that's a simple step. And then
Yeah.
everything's recorded
Absolutely.
Yeah.
and put where it needs to be.
Well,
They
and
need to change that we can have the sales at the band shell. You know, they've got it selling.
I know, but that's what I'm saying, let's make this the proposal. That, how about if we did this, this, and this?
Correct.
So we've got control over that cash, we've got control over that, we've got documentation. Then, and then if it needs to be more than that, you tell the auditors, gosh, we thought we did a pretty good job, what do we need to do to be better than that?
And Jessica
I mean, at least it's an
did say that
attempt.
these were recommendations.
Right.
You know, I'm sure she's gonna be open to suggestions and helpful advice. This is her first year for doing this too. So let's just not bash her, let's just work together and.
I've heard half a dozen times that we do all these steps. I've heard that a bunch of times, so then this is it's a non-issue, I don't know why it's, been talking about it for an hour, if we do it all, we just turn this stuff in and then we're
Yep,
good.
just have good documentation and you should be good.
I think it was the way it was presented.
Correct. Cause it wasn't on here that it's a recommendation. It says, this
comply.
this is with literally a threat at the end. That is not how
For
you
all of this.
present, that's not how you present a recommendation. So again, it was a lack of communication, you know, a lack of communication causes trouble every single time. And, you know, we've
So,
done our best. I
Let me
mean,
ask you, you've been doing this for how many years, did you say, 9?
Mine's the
What
oldest
do you
one on
think
here.
could be improved much better than the way it's handled?
What was the question?
What are your improvements to make it much better so that it complies with our auditors not
Well,
having
if
findings?
the city has to be there, I understand that, but.
But
I
I'm
want
asking the procedures.
the-
You
the
tell me
procedures-
what you think would
Correct.
be the best procedures.
What Jessica said, she had like 3 or 4 bullet points.
Mhm.
That's what it should be. Simple. I mean.
and we've done that.
We have, but
Yep, but
we'll,
get it in writing and.
we'll just
But
not go to the past, speak, we're gonna go forward.
But I think, yeah, we're just
But
trying
what
to
I'm saying is,
improve
and
the
she needs to
steps.
make that, and make it user-friendly. This is not user-friendly. It is not. And then, and when you get handed this and you have been doing it,
But let's go
you've got it
back to
right.
my question, because you still haven't answered it.
Okay.
What do you think could be improved better about the processes of handling cash?
I think you need to have city employees down there.
And-
Because a volunteer.
And don't you think a credit card system,
If,
bringing
yes,
the
if it
cash up
works.
daily is actually a good system to do?
Correct.
It is a system,
It's a very good, but it
a lot of
has not
people
worked.
don't walk through the gate with a card, they
No.
have cash.
No.
Mhm.
I mean, there
And you're
are-
gonna have both.
And you're
Yeah,
gonna.
exactly.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
had
I
people
think
walking
we
in
need to
last year saying, well, I paid online and there was no proof of it.
Right.
Right.
I sent a check in, there was
Mary
no proof
says
of
there
it.
is proof of
We
it.
checked, every online payment was checked. If they walked in and said they paid online, I would check it.
I know.
So,
And
well,
you
just
had
said-
this year, Mary. But Mary, how many people that you know have not completed a registration in one setting?
I can't answer that because I'm not there with them.
Cause there's a lot of them,
No,
you know?
I'm not with them. I don't know
Yeah.
why people.
And there
have
are
registered
people that
multiple
just can't
times.
go through a
Maybe they're
registration
confused
and
by
they'll
the
just come and
system.
pay at the
Maybe
gate.
they're confused by there's a paper one that they can send in too. I can't answer that because I'm not that person. So I will simplify the website so that there is only the paper one they send in with the check. There won't be any online payments and nobody has to worry. We'll fix that right now.
Why would you wanna,
Right now, your complaint is that nobody can pay online, they're paying wrong,
no,
and that they're not registering correctly. So we will have a paper-only registration that they can print out and send in with a check. That will take care of any issues they have with payments.
how about all the ones that have sent in payment? You know, you and I have been sitting down on this, and you did miss our meeting the other night.
I was unable to attend because it wasn't clear with my schedule beforehand.
It wasn't what?
It was not clear with my schedule beforehand, I had a prior engagement.
But you had responded to me that you could meet
No,
at 4
I did
o'clock.
not. I
You
I
responded,
said 4 o'clock at City Hall, I could not make it down to your house and then do my own thing. I don't know.
okay, but you did respond to me that you were available at 4, so.
Back to your question, Kenny, I think if we found a volunteer that was willing to sign off from it, I don't know, do you think, Cindy, that there's people on there that are willing to count the cash and sign off on it?
Well, yeah, I mean, if
I
you're
mean,
gonna
if not,
have,
then they're-
you'll have a city staff
Right,
person
it
right
wasn't
with
asked
that
of them,
volunteer.
so if they wouldn't, then there has to be a city employee there.
So
Or
last
Mary,
year,
unless Mary
when
thinks-
Pete
can you handle it, Mary?
and,
I don't know. Can you handle all the money that comes in?
Well, like Jessica stated, it will be 2 people, making sure that,
Correct.
you know, like bringing the
And
cash
that's- yeah.
everywhere.
And that's what we did before,
and I'm
last
sure that's
year.
what you did, like you and Pete probably counted the money and you counted it off.
Yeah.
And I think the only piece missing was how many ticket sales you had during the day, how many shirts you sold, all of that stuff just didn't come up to City Hall, just the cash. And then at the end, Pete would write up an envelope of things, but that's all we got. So I think we're just trying to streamline it to make it so that everything checks through.
So a spreadsheet, the
Yes,
money comes to City Hall at night, a volunteer to maybe always count the money every night. the
And those
same
people would
company.
sign off,
Mhm.
so you know who did it.
yeah, that's pretty
And,
simple.
and we've done that.
So can we have,
Okay.
Jessica, can you do your recommendation, so that it's simple for people? Because when we give it to a volunteer, if we handed this to a volunteer, they're gonna turn around and go back home.
And I understand.
And I
that,
Yeah,
I-
and things can be simplified. I mean,
Just
because we know
simplify it
your
so that
your
it's-
volunteers, and we thank you for volunteering, because we know this is a big event. It's huge every year.
I do know that the city is willing to sit down and listen.
A lot
Because
of
they did
times,
for my
a lot of times the
food truck, so-
procedures have to be really detailed like that. I mean, I get them all the time from the state. It looks like really complicated instructions. It's 10 pages. I talk to my state rep, you know, the person that I work with on a monthly basis, and I say, what is this saying? And then they have that simple 5-minute conversation, and I go, okay, this is what those 10 pages are saying in the real world. So it,
And I
write it
will
down, so
absolutely
it covers
do
all
that.
your bases.
I
And
will
it's
absolutely
just
work with
adding
that.
the additional procedures that we have never seen up here at City Hall. So just making sure that cash is accounted for every night, making sure that it's counted and that it matches the sales. I mean, just on a simple spreadsheet every day, and that comes up with the deposit bag, so that everything checks out. It would just make it really clean and very, very neat to just be done with that day's deposit, everything's accounted for. Bam, the spreadsheet goes in the deposit bag with the cash. Mary brings the cash up here to City Hall, puts it in our safe, and we're good.
So can they still have Rec Fest set up the way they do every year? Like the merchandise in a separate spot? Or is it all?
Well, yeah,
in
look,
Cause
I mean,
in
we'll
this,
work-
there is a section that says all t-shirt, all merchandise has to be behind the
Can
lounge.
I interrupt you to speak on that, please? I would like to just state that this was just a rough draft. I put
No,
out
that's why
in
I'm
advance.
asking.
But here's the thing, I wanna work with you guys on it, I don't wanna make this more difficult. However, I don't appreciate being attacked immediately by the mayor on what I came up with. That is where I am at right now, and I'm very upset.
Yeah, and I'm sorry that happened, and,
Yeah, and that really,
but
And I'm not attacking you other than going over it.
it was the way it was
You
presented.
attack me, your tone of voice, everything that came
I
out of your
talk
mouth
loud
in the
like
first
this
5
all the
minutes was
time.
blah, 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 whatever, and I am felt personally attacked by the situation, and I am just trying to do my job and protect the city.
yep,
That's it.
and that is her job, Pete.
Yeah,
She
and
needs
I
to protect the
understand that.
city,
On the other hand,
because she's not gonna be accountable for money that's missing from those
And I
bags
don't
when it
want this to
doesn't
go
match.
backwards by any means, but
Right.
I just needed to get that off my chest. If you and I want to sit down and have a conversation, I'm absolutely willing to do that. I am not opposed to changing this at all.
and I know totally how you feel, because that is exactly how I felt when I read this, when I was handed to it. 9 years of volunteering,
Why
and
approach it in a public meeting in a way of attack?
Am I wrong? Was I not attacked here? I mean, that's exactly how I felt.
that's kinda how we.
It started off with it being deemed
And
as
I'm not saying you
ridiculous.
personally, I'm talking directly to Mr. Mayor.
So I think we need to talk about shirt sales like you brought up and different things. I think if you had a proposal that worked, and I don't know why it wouldn't, you couldn't work it out, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Just get it figured out,
Absolutely.
documenting, taking care of money, we're good.
I mean,
Yes,
just being
yes.
open to suggestion of change.
So can I just ask one question as the volunteer coordinator for this event? Can I be assured that there will be a city employee at
Mhm.
the event?
Yeah.
For the sales, for all the hours?
Yeah, she
Okay.
will.
Okay.
Yeah, Mark.
Hey, I just discussed with Mary very briefly, but, I'm willing to work with Mary and myself to be the city employees on the spreadsheet collection and all that, the whole time of it.
Thank you.
That takes the pressure off of you
That just
guys.
takes the pressure off what you guys are doing.
Well, and know what we're doing, because I've got 2 people lined
Well,
up for
there's-
the entire event, every hour accounted
Yeah.
for. So
Right.
I'm gonna have to go back and say,
But you still want those people, you still need them to do the same job. They work underneath the observation of a city employee.
one of the major complaints at breakfast is, for the volunteer part, is they don't wanna sit there and do nothing. They don't want to be there for a 4-hour commitment and they're just sitting on a chair. So we thought this year we would just have that as like a 2-person position. So that's where I'm coming from.
So you only need
is-
2 people.
Exactly.
At the gate.
At the gate.
Yeah, and I'm talking about, volunteer.
And just so that you know at the gate what happens is motorhomes pull up. I mean, I would guess 90% of the people are probably 70, 75 and older, so they never get out. We go walk to their window to make it convenient for them. So what we're saying is then, we're handling that money, they handle the money, so we need to know then what's okay for us to do, and we have to be able to tell our volunteers what's okay for them to do.
And I think at this point, right now, I think it would be best for Jessica
Yes.
and you guys to get
Yes.
together
Right.
here at City Hall in Jessica's
And that makes
office.
sense, yeah, but
Where-
this
where
did
you could
say
sit-
it was the, city employee only who.
Mhm.
And I
Yep.
apologize that it was unclear to me that I did not have any clue as to how RecFest was
Right, you didn't know
handled.
how
And
it worked,
Right.
and
And
So,
that's my fault,
it's a
and I
lack
should have
of
asked questions, and
communication.
I'm sorry that
Yep.
I did not.
So I think a meeting, scheduled between the committee rather than, continuing to batter this to death here at a public meeting could be better handled if you set up a meeting with Jessica in her office. Okay?
And along with that, I think we need the city employee Mary and Mark there too. When,
Oh,
to meet
definitely.
with
Oh,
that.
I would say one or the other.
Right.
No, both of them. Because one is doing the computer and the other one is gonna be,
Yeah, both Mark and Mary and Jessica can be in the
Yeah.
meeting. Everybody needs to know what's going on, because Mark is gonna relay what our public works department does for RecFest and gets everything set up for them too, so it all works together.
Right, but as
Yeah.
far as being at RecFest the entire time, I don't think they need to be employees.
Well, they're gonna
For all
alter their
hours.
schedules anyway, so,
Right, that's what I.
Yeah,
Which
they're
is
gonna alter
fine,
their
because like
schedules.
I'm in charge of the food, Cindy's in charge of volunteers, Myron's in charge of the bands, so we have other jobs that we're running around doing,
Absolutely.
you know.
And I think that's where you need to have that meeting, just to say, here's what I do, here's what, you know, Cindy, you do, Pauline, I do this, and
Yeah.
Shannon, you're probably part of
I'm
the
golf cart.
You're a golf cart, okay. So, just, email Jessica and she can get that for you, okay? Okay.
The committee will set up a meeting sometime next week or this week.
Yeah, just make sure you check with schedules to make sure, because,
So that they
People
all
are-
can be there.
yeah. Yep, it takes a while sometimes to turn out a date, just because people
Okay.
are gone.
Linnell Anderson transient merchandise application, did we take care of that one?
Nope, go ahead and take care of that one.
And that is where?
It's on the bottom.
It's on the bottom. Yep.
I'm sorry, can we go?
Yeah.
You certainly can, absolutely.
Well, you can stay,
Go.
you can stay longer, but
I'll show you how to get out.
Pauline, would you give Jessica your email address?
Yes,
Thank you.
definitely.
Do you need a motion to approve that?
Yes.
Lynn Anderson, I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
I'm not finding it.
Right down at the bottom of this file, that last 2 pages.
You can see mine if he needs to.
And it's for what?
There, food stand at the sheriff's thing.
What, tonight?
Yeah. We gotta approve it, yeah.
It's already going on.
Yeah, well, we don't serve food until we approve it.
You made a motion?
Yep, I got a second.
Yep, yep.
Okay, any discussion? Dave, how do you vote?
Aye.
Pete, yes. Norris?
Aye.
Lindsay?
Aye.
Yes. Uh,
Yeah, this would be one of those that
Exactly what I was thinking.
if city staff could just take care of it,
Yep,
it really,
yep.
Yeah, otherwise they were told that they weren't gonna be able to do it this year.
yeah.
Yeah, we
don't-
don't
Yeah.
have that discussion at the next meeting and
Yep.
get that
Yep,
taken care
that
of.
needs to get on the agenda for next
Okay.
meeting.
The last thing on the agenda is the closed meeting, which I have requested to go open. And I'd like to address a few things on there that has come about. And the main thing is, that at our last meeting on the 19th, that resolution 2208, the annual appointments, was put aside. And then later we put it back on. And since that time, I realized why there was a delay in putting it on, because of the agreement that I made with the council, or the agreement of understanding I made with the council, mentioned that I would no longer or reappoint the budget and the personnel committee to someone else. And with Corey resigning, left an opening on the parks and on the tourism. And there was discussion from the employees that they didn't want me on any committee. And I think at some time, we have to realize and bring to the public attention a summation of that closed meeting. on what I agreed to, and I am being accused of not following that meeting and those recommendations, not the recommendations of the original, but the summation of what I agreed to.
So you want me to articulate what the complaint against you was,
And-
what was agreed upon by the council as a whole in closed session, what the terms of that agreement were, and then what has purportedly transpired since that time. If that's what you want me to do, I will. I will not say any employees' names at all.
And I would not either.
Is that what you want me to do? Is that what you want me to do?
At this time, I can do it, and you can stop me if you want.
It would be what is it that you wanted? Are you gonna read out the complaint, and are you gonna read out the terms of the agreement?
Yes, in essence. And I think they should be public.
The names of the individual employees that lodged the complaint, that's not public data.
Okay.
That would be, they're protected under whistleblower. The identity of any employees that they referenced your conduct with, that person cannot be identified by name. The terms of the agreement are fairly generic, so I think that's fine. I would suggest it would probably be a good idea for you to allow me to recite in general terms what it was. If there's something more specific that you want to address, certainly. But I think it would be better done that way, at least to start out with.
When you say by name, that means by name and job title.
Correct. We don't want people to identify any individual employee. So
Okay.
if you want me to kind of put it out there in general terms, I can start.
That is fine, and I got all this here,
Okay.
and the understanding and what I signed.
Yeah.
But before you do that, I do want to read my comment on the mayoral note regarding confidentiality of understanding dated February 23rd.
Well, you should actually, if you're gonna recite that, you should make sure that everything's done in chronological order. So, because if you're gonna read that, I need to explain why it's there.
Okay, then I'll do this at the end.
That's fine?
Okay,
Okay. In January of this year, a number of city employees signed what they titled to be a petition and presented that to the council. I don't know if the mayor received a copy at the time, but for sure, Councilor Dillon, Councilor Larson, Councilor Corey Peterson, and Councilor Johnson received it.
and do you want a copy of it?
No.
On who all received it and I didn't?
No, if I'm missing something, then you can go ahead and fill me in. I know that before council people received a copy, and then I was forwarded a copy from one of the council persons.
And I did not receive the copy or a letter till the 26th of the month.
And
4 days later than when all the other council members received it. And one of my questions was, why did I not receive that? And that has never been answered.
I don't know the answer to that, other than to say mail is delivered when it's delivered and it's picked
Oh,
up.
I'm just saying.
I don't know. In any event, those employees articulated in that complaint their stated request that the mayor resign his position. In the alternative, if the mayor did not resign his position, that the city council formally censure the mayor, remove him from all boards, committees, and participation in other city-related activities, and restrict the manner in which he communicated with city staff. They articulated in general terms their belief that the mayor had created a hostile work environment for at least one, if not multiple employees, and felt that the mayor had acted inappropriately, both in private and during open council meetings in a manner that they couched as being hostile, aggressive, and or unprofessional in a general sense. We had a closed meeting.
No, sir, it was also the council members, not only individuals and employees, but it was also the council members that I, had outbursts of anger toward. And I did explain to you that just because of my voice, and I have Mary turn down my mic, and I did listen to it on the video at home, and my voice carries a lot louder than everybody else, and I do have a strong voice, and always had, and I explained to you and Dave why I have the strong voice.
And I understand that, but your explanation to me and
I know.
Dylan is,
I'm just,
we're irrelevant, at least I'm
Yes.
irrelevant. So for purposes of,
and then the other thing on that, Damien, is it was not only appointments with outside committees, it was organizations and individuals and business leaders and developers.
correct, and my recollection is part of that related to incidents that other individuals observed of you in the community, dealing with other individuals, and felt in a general sense it was best to be brought. Again, those were their allegations.
Yes.
And that was what they were bringing forth to the council for consideration, again, in a general sense. We had a closed meeting, and it was closed pursuant to the statutory citations that are referenced in tonight's agenda, and those are the reasons because this sort of issue falls under personnel data. The subject that is the person that is the subject of the personnel data is the one that has the right to have meetings closed or open. Previously, the mayor requested they be closed. Today, he's requested that the information be open. Okay. During the course of the closed meeting, it became apparent that the 4 members of the city council were at a point where they were willing to pass in open session a resolution that generally acquiesced to the requests of the employees. In an effort to forego that, in an effort to try and get things to calm down and resolve amicably, an agreement was reached between the mayor and the members of the council that would put into place, ideally, certain protective provisions for the employees so that the concerns that they raised hopefully would be adequately addressed and relationships could move forward in a positive fashion. Generally speaking, some of these conditions included communicating only via email with city staff, not having in-person meetings with city employees regarding city business without having another council person be present. Having the mayor bring forth prior to any meetings issues of concern that were on an agenda to be dealt with during a regular meeting so that they were not thrown on at the last second and so that the communication concerns could flow through a third person. Generally speaking, everybody was to remain respectful towards one another and all city staff at all times, communicate in a respectful manner with all people at all times. The mayor agreed to step back from his committee appointments at the time were budget and personnel. There may have been, I'm trying to think if there was another protective provision that was put into place. Those are the only ones that are coming to mind right now. But there was also a provision that was going to call for the mayor to participate with an employee and the League of Minnesota Cities mediation program that they have recently developed to try and foster a more positive communication and relationship moving forward. After that meeting, the mayor approached me and wanted to include something in his confidential file that said he was agreeing to this in an effort to try and resolve the matter, but he did not agree with the allegations that were contained therein. As the employee or the public official that is the subject of the data, just as any employee has, they have a right to include a position statement within their personnel file that would be kept confidential, but nevertheless made part of the file. So the mayor chose to execute a document consistent with that and put that in his file. That being said, he was still willing to comply with the terms of the agreement. Since that time, there have been myriad issues raised by other council people, other employees. Since that time, of ongoing issues, one of the issues had to do with the mayor wanting to be reappointed to other council boards, committees, parks and tourism, and his desire to not act on the resolutions that were prepared in previous meetings and that were pulled. Ultimately, they were acted upon at the last meeting, based in large part on the fact that a good number of the employees that communicated with the staff, with the council originally, voiced their anger and frustration that the mayor was still on a couple of committees. Employees have relayed their personal observations of and hearing of derogatory statements or statements that were perceived to be disrespectful in nature that the mayor had purportedly made regarding city employees with respect to some of the work that was being done. And there were a number of times where there were phone calls made versus emails, things of that nature. So that's, in a general sense, what's transpired from go to now. So, any questions? Any?
Okay, I just have to add some things. I've been in compliance totally with this agreement because part of the conversation was, and I believe the only person that I called or have had conversations alone with have been or other matters than the city and Rec Fest. And it was agreed that the Rec Fest, that being Mary was working with us, that I had no problem if it had to concern with Rec Fest, that I could call her. And I have been calling Mary. Today, I did call and ask to speak with Dolores, and I never got through, but I'll admit I called because I did not get the agenda come across for tonight's meeting. So that's the only other person that I know I have called at any time while this was in effect. I have talked to people at the police. I've talked to Quinn on other than concerns. I've talked to him on concerns on our Stonehaven thing, and one other matter, Quinn, that I talked and left a message for you, and then I got back to you last week. It was Stonehaven and
I think both those concerns that you're referencing were your position on the.
with Stonehaven or something out, my position there. And I did talk to somebody at Public Works about Stonehaven, that I needed something for Stonehaven, not for the city, but I needed something for Stonehaven. I did contact Public Works about meeting and getting stuff for Rec Fest. And I went up there and, the shed was open, so I went in and got to whatever I could because of my limited mobility, you know? And there's still some things that I talked to Mark tonight about that I need for Rec Fest. Other than that, I have not gone away, and I've been, accused of doing things outside this agreement. And I've totally gone by this agreement, which is here. And from that standpoint, is why I wanna make this public, because, I've been getting a lot of feedback on that the employees, some employees have let out different statements on this agreement to non-employees. You know, and that was not supposed to be done. And the reason I waited with the reappointments was that I wanted to do it in a timely manner to protect the city, because I did not want to get in the city, and also to protect any employees, because I do believe we have good employees. And I've stated that at meetings before. And when I wear my mayor's hat, I wear my mayor's hat. When I wear my different hats, I wear a different hat, and I'll speak that. But I would like to read my thing that I signed with you that you kind of referred to, and that will be in closing. On February 23rd, I execute a confidential memorandum, and there's some 3-syllable words there, Dave, so I'm in trouble, of the understanding with this Malacca City Council. This agreement outlines various restrictions being placed upon me and my actions moving forward. I consent to enter into this agreement and restrictions therein in effect to ensure that the city employees and other staff, elected officials were comfortable moving forward, and do so in a confidential manner, so as to cease as little disruptions as possible. I do not agree with the preamble whereas statements contained within the agreement. While I understand those provisions must be contained therein to provide context for the getting of the agreement, I do not agree with the underlined assertions. Additional, of this agreement is in no ways an admission of guilt or responsibility or an indication that I agree with any of the assertions contained herein. So I do want that to go on record, and I respect all the employees that signed that, and they are underneath the rights of not being named. I did ask you, Damien, to set up a meeting with them individually so I could express this to them, that I mainly did this for 3 reasons. And one of the reasons was expressed by an employee, but my first reason is I didn't want this to turn into a bad name for the city of Malacca. First of all, if you think my voice is part of my anger, it is not. I've asked Mary to turn down my mic. I explained to you and Dave why I talk slow, why I talk loud, and that goes from my childhood. When I was 16, 18 years old, I would have not even been able to sit here and talk like this, because I stuttered so bad I could not, as a teenager, talk to anyone. My first year of college in Omaha, I had a speech teacher that took that all away from me with technically taught me. And he always told me, Pete, look directly at a person, talk slow, and talk loud. And I've always done that. And I've never been to a place that I have needed a microphone for. And that's the truth. You guys know me. From that standpoint, that's what I want to say tonight. And we're gonna move on from here. And now it's out in public, what I agreed to. I will follow those agreements, but I will not be accused of breaking those agreements, which I was from the chamber when I had a meeting with Shannon, and I wish she was here. I went to a chamber event, and I was accused of talking bad about an employee at that event. I did not. She presented the problems that she presented tonight that she was having with City Hall. And I said, the only way you can do that, Shannon, is you come to the meeting, because I can't do nothing about it. That's all I said. And I will continue to honor what I assigned, but at the same time, I respect and will want to know any accusations of me not following that agreement face to face and by the person that is saying it.
Well, okay, there's a few things I need to respond to. First off, can't force an employee into a confrontation.
I won't.
Second thing is, with respect to the information that was brought forth by certain employees about the things that have been transpiring since the agreement took place. It's not my position to say whether those things happened or not. I wasn't there, I don't know. I'm relaying to the balance of the council the concerns that were raised by the employees, because it seems from the employees' perspective, the agreement that was reached is not accomplishing the goals that the agreement was meant to reach from their perspective. The council needs to be aware of those concerns, so the council can do what it feels is appropriate to do. It's not my position to say one thing is right and one thing is wrong. This person's saying something truthful, this person's not. My job is to try and collect information, relay information, and explain options. Third thing, and I just want to touch on this, it has to be to set up meetings with the individual employees that had signed that petition to address your concerns. And as I explained to you, that sort of dynamic would have been inappropriate. To force a subordinate employee into a meeting, even if I'm there, with a superior who they've lodged a complaint against to address that or anything else, is opening up the door to problems, and it's just not a road that I was willing to go down, and wouldn't allow you to go down, because I need to make sure that you're protected, and I need to make sure that the individual council members are protected, and the city is protected. So that's why that didn't happen.
Okay, but I also explained to you that the reason I wanted to meet with them was to assure them of my commitment to them and that they are good employees. I was not gonna bash them, and I took it to heart when I had received that petition. You know, because to me, I've always said, there are 5 things that make any person: faith, family, friends, occupation, and community. And as individuals, we must give back to those that have made us. And I've said that, and I've lived by that. The one thing that I did, that I regret, that led me into this decision, was when one of the employees stood up and apologized to my son for bringing it up, and that kind of entered into my decision. And that is probably the first time that I have made a decision as mayor or as a council person that was, I don't feel I should have made that decision with that aspect in mind. I should have made the decision on purely what I've been elected for and what I stand for to represent the city and the voters of Malacca. So I wish in my decision, and you didn't know that was part of my decision, because my decision was based on protecting Malacca from any scandal and bad publicity, and to protect the employees. And then the third one was my family. My family, other than Corey, does not even know this is going on till after tonight, to be honest with you. My 2 other kids, none of my family has even known that this petition or any part of the closed meeting occurred. And that's how I have approached it. But after tonight, it's public, and I will discuss it with my family. My family has moved away from here. They have had encouraged me to move away from town, not because of this, but because of other things, you know, my health and being closer to them. But these are things that have happened, and I want the city to be aware of. And the employees do have my support, but I also, in the meantime, do want to be able to take and receive information that I request, that is legally and rightfully available to a mayor, council members, and the public. And I will continue to request information that I need to be in this position. So that's my final statement. If you want to add anything to that, Damian?
No, but.
Or if the council members have any questions, feel free to ask.
I think one of the concerns that was expressed to me is your presence on the boards and commissions.
Correct.
Because I think, as I understand, the agreement was that you would not be a part of any of the boards and commissions.
Wrong.
Isn't that?
The verbiage agreement says that you would not be on budget and personnel. That was put in there because at the time, that was the only commissions that he was on. It wasn't contemplated that he would have been placed on a board to replace Lindsay or to replace Corey, who was still on a particular board. It was the intent of the employees that he not be on any commissions and boards. So it was an issue of verbiage.
Yeah.
And when I talked to Lindsay about how I was gonna present the reappointment, I informed her and asked her about the tourism board. You know, that I'd go back on that and.
Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna stop right now. I don't think the issue has anything to do with what Councilor Larson's position was, it's the employees. It was the employees intent when they submitted that you would not be on any commissions.
But that wasn't in the agreement.
Again, because at the time, you were just on those two.
Yeah.
And nobody had thought about the what-ifs and being reappointed to other ones. And
But-
that's part of the reason why we're back here.
But that's things that I think are added, and those reappointments went through, and that's why there was a delay on the 21st meeting. That we didn't do it, I didn't even get a motion to adopt that.
I'm gonna go ahead and interject right now, because I can tell you exactly why that happened. I had communicated with the other city council members to make them aware of the fact that the employees didn't want you on any commissions. I copied you on that email. Apparently that email went to spam. I had hoped that when your honor read that email, you would step back and say, well, we won't worry about it, and I won't be on any commissions. Nothing happened. When the issue came up, the three of them saw your name on those other commissions, knowing the employees didn't want you on any, and so they weren't going to pass that. I had to communicate with council to say, this needs to happen now, get you off of personnel and budget, because those were the two committees that were clearly, from the employee's perspective, causing the greatest amount of strain. So at least this was the step in the right direction. That's exactly how that took place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were faced with two bad choices. And, but my intent was, with that agreement, was that you would not be on boards and commissions.
That isn't what the agreement says.
I know, I'm saying that was the intent, because you were not on those boards or commissions at that time.
Yeah.
And,
But now I am with the reappointment.
yeah.
And we'll go from there.
But that can be changed. And I would make a motion to remove you from those commissions, that we would save those for the new council member that will be appointed hopefully soon.
And that's not according to, what is germane to the activities tonight at this closed meeting.
But actually, it is Mr. Mayor.
I mean,
Yes.
at,
Yeah, that
At
is
open
part,
meeting.
That
yeah,
is-
that's part of the subject matter that was the basis for what was gonna be the closed meeting.
so you're changing our agreement, so let's throw the whole thing out. No, you are.
Well, first off, it was an agreement that was reached between yourself and the council members. If the council decides that what has been agreed to is just not working, then they can do what they feel is appropriate to do. That's never changed. And I made that clear at the very
Yes.
first meeting. The very first meeting, that if this
Yeah.
didn't work out, and the council felt it need to readdress the issue and pass a formal resolution, it could do so.
And at that time, if I choose to fight this and this whole thing, that's my right too.
You're free to follow any legal rights that you have. The council has the ultimate authority to place limits on the actions and protective measures that it feels is necessary for its city. And I think I provided you with two examples of that having taken place.
Yes, you did that, but those allegations have to be proven. And it's like the council saying no to the voters that have elected me every year.
I think the evidence is when they came in here and spoke one by one.
Yeah.
And I respect them. I respected them that night. And I listened to them. And I hold nothing against them for speaking, nothing against them for writing the petition. But is that the cause of our problem?
What do you mean? Is that the cause? Yes.
No.
That's why the petition was brought up.
It was
That is the cause of the problem.
revealing the problem, it wasn't the cause of the problem.
Well,
But
see, I can't mention anything else at this point.
Not if you're gonna be talking about specific employees.
Right. And so I'm not going to.
But I would still offer that a motion to have you removed from the board or commission, because that was my intent with the agreement, and I think Lindsay is nodding in agreement. And I've had things expressed to me more recently that is not acceptable.
By who?
By city
employees.
staff. And they have a big stake in that, and I think we owe it to them to make that, to clarify that part of the agreement.
I think you got some of that information, that was forwarded, wasn't it?
Prior to the last meeting.
Yeah,
Yes.
the email information.
Yeah, and I found out within the past few days that apparently 10 of the emails that I sent out went to his spam folder,
Oh,
so he didn't see them. But yes, I did share with him, with the employees' consent, specifically, what the concerns were, and that was shared with, all of you prior to the last meeting.
Then, as far as from my standpoint, before any action is taken, I think we have to have a little more research and go back into a closed session at some other time. Because I do want some consultation with somebody prior to the council taking actions that I could, I don't know how to put it.
You can certainly ask the council to table the motion, and the council can agree to table the motion, or the council can act on the motion.
Well,
I'm not going to say you must stop now because you.
well, look, I would just skip the motion until a latter time, because there's been no second it, and therefore we would not have to table it. But
Lindsay seconded it.
I didn't hear a second.
That was my understanding that you were not supposed to be on any of the boards.
But that
Was
is
part
what
of
the
that was my
agreement
understanding of the agreement at
Huh?
that time. That was my understanding of the agreement.
That was in
Part of the agreement
that
that it
was in
was,
the
I
petition.
believe, I thought was in place for a while.
And I think the issue is Councilor Johnson made a motion to remove the mayor from all boards and commissions. Maybe I misunderstood, I thought you had seconded that.
No,
I was
did-
I was
did
in
not hear a
agreement. I
second.
did not second it yet. I was in agreement that that was the understanding originally.
So I'd rather not have that motion come forward and that we look into this and,
Well, you have to ask if there's a second.
huh?
You have to ask if there's a second.
No, but there was no second.
You have to ask.
she didn't ask.
Was there a second? Hearing no second?
I'm willing to table till the 21st.
Well, with no second,
Then I'll
you can
second
bring
it.
it up on the 21st. Put it on the agenda for the
I'm okay
21st.
with going on the 21st.
Okay?
You okay with that?
Okay.
And then we take care of it.
And is that gonna be in a closed session or open session?
I'm not here.
I know.
How,
Well, it'd be the resolution all over again.
it would be, no, it would have to be clarified to say any boards and committee, because right now doesn't it say those two?
Yeah, correct.
Right, you'd have to take those words out.
And
And that's doing away with the whole agreement that I made, and I could fight the whole agreement.
Mr. Mayor, just so that we're clear, because, if anybody has a question between now and Friday or actually Saturday at noon, because that's when I'm leaving, you can feel free to call me. But just so that it's clear, in case the question is asked, at the next meeting on the 21st, if the city council, if the majority of the council that is present chooses to pass a resolution that is consistent with what was previously prepared, you can do that. Mayor can certainly take whatever actions he wants to enforce his rights, but the council does have the authority to impose the restrictions that it feels are necessary. We have a copy of that.
And if, does that not open up the whole agreement I made with them to start with?
But, I
Well,
mean,
now we've gone from an agreement to a
Resolution.
resolution. We've taken that step we didn't wanna take.
And-
And that was the whole purpose of having an agreement, so we didn't have to go through all this.
And that's the whole purpose that I kept this, to protect the city from what could turn into,
And here we are.
yeah,
That's my point.
yeah.
So now you wanna fight these two positions too? And keep this
I
going.
might decide to fight the whole agreement.
So it really isn't about the city.
It is. But when I'm threatened,
It's not
like
that,
this,
it's just the employees asked, not asked, it was part of our agreement. And like you say, it was a verbiage thing that we just ended up in a place we didn't expect we'd end up. We thought we had it clear that we were off the committees, and then two came up that kind of threw us off.
to me, if anything's done any further than this, it's opening a whole can of worms.
Well, but
And then
It's
it's
a-
not on my shoulders, it'll be on the council's shoulders.
Well, if the council, the majority of the council passes the resolution, that's what it is. It is what it is. It's, I don't know where you can appeal that to.
I can, just,
I don't know.
I can't mention any further things. Because of what's in place right now. And that's what Damien said I can't, so. With that, there is just a couple of things that if we do this on the 21st, it makes no sense to do it then, because Damien's not gonna be there, and there's no tourism meeting till November, because I'm sure it was called off because they seen that I was back on it, and the tourism is not actually a city committee, so there's no problem with that one, but they are not having any meeting till November, and that was done at their last meeting, and I found out that the members of the board were too busy to have a meeting till November, which makes no sense, and I have had no notice of any park committee meeting, which is supposed to be scheduled for tomorrow night. And I got no notice of that, so I don't know where that one is. So, I don't know if they're having a Parks Committee meeting tomorrow night or not, because I got no notice on it. But I did get a notice that the next tourism meeting would be the 11th. And then, so we might as well leave off or discuss that on the agenda when Damien's here, and I think.
Well, we might not need to. Why does he have to be here?
Okay.
I'm happy to not be here. And it sounds like really.
I mean, if it's just a matter of passing a resolution, there's nothing we need information wise, I don't think.
But is the resolution to redo the appointments? or is the resolution to not have me on any committees?
I think the issue is there's a couple of possibilities. One is the council may choose to so only act on Norris's motion to remove you from all boards, committees, everything. That is one possible course of action. I think that's what Dave motioned to table that issue, that narrow issue, to table to the 21st. What I'm saying, another possibility is, going back to the very first meeting, which is the council, if it so chooses, can pass a resolution which basically imposes what was in the agreement. But rather than by agreement, it's the council saying, this is how it's gonna be from now on. And I sent out a copy of that way back then, and I'll send out another copy so that you'll have it well in advance of the meeting. And if you guys decide to do it, you do it. If you don't, you don't. You can do nothing, you can act on the motion to remove from the boards and commissions, you can pass a resolution, or something else.
Or the other thing is I can fight that because I've been elected, and to censor another member of the council, you have to have just and right reasons to do it.
And if they pass it, they believe they do.
And then I can fight it as much as I want.
You can fight it, but they can still impose the restrictions.
I don't think they can. I'm sorry.
Okay? It's happened before, and I know they can.
That's like telling them anybody can put restrictions on what I can debate.
No, Mr. Mayor, I'm just.
And what I can say up
You're the
here.
one that brought this into open session. I'm telling you, and you know, there are a significant number of employees that have brought forth what they
Correct.
clearly articulated as concerns. Those concerns are ongoing. The city council, if a majority determines that certain things need to happen in order for them to immediately protect those individuals, they have the authority to impose that.
But they do have to prove that I was the cause of those concerns.
No, they don't have to go and prove to a body.
The council has to prove.
I think they did. We had people walk in here and do it. They walked in here and said it, face to our face.
If the mayor's trying to say that there's like this third body that you need to convince of this, that's not the case. If you are convinced based on the information that's been provided,
Okay.
that's.
But then that opens the whole petition up. And I'm willing to do that. But I will protect the employees and I will protect the city.
If we pass a resolution, it stands.
Okay? We'll look at that, so. Okay, we beat a dead horse. I would like, as you wanna put some things on the agenda for next time, I do want on the agenda the first reading of the ordinance on chapter 30 and 31. Is that gonna be ready?
I think I already sent them to Tammy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You've got,
there's a draft that was.
There's a draft?
Yeah, of both of them.
Okay,
And it's just the first reading, it's based on what I believe you want, but any changes
Okay,
you want.
because in the minutes, there's something wrong, but we'll do that at the first reading. So that will be on the agenda.
Yeah, chapter 30, and then there's something in chapter 31 as well.
Yes. And chapter 30.26 is wrongly stated in the minutes. It was stated, that council should be increase their pay every 2 years. That was not, the comment was made. The comment was made by me to make the next council aware that if they're gonna do it, they have to do it before election year. It was not to change the ordinance.
Yeah, I didn't.
Oh, and you did.
No.
on 30 point.
I don't believe that was.
Because in the minutes, it is, because I've seen so that's on there. And then, I also wanted on there the, Rec Fest temporary city license. And that was in there, that it was approved. But now, underneath the new thing, we do not have to have a state liquor license, we can have a city liquor, temporary city can issue a license. So I want discussion on that. And then I also want a resolution adopted for discussion, but I want the resolution adopted to change the form of government back from a Plan B, away from a Plan B government. And I want a resolution so that the resolution is there for the discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, but I'm leaving for Florida on Saturday. I'm not gonna have time to prepare any resolutions or anything having to do with changing the city of Malacca's form of government in the next 4 days, especially when I have court all day, every day for the next 3. I can certainly try and cobble together some basic information as to what the process is and
Okay.
provide that.
And I do have that, some of that. But I would at least like to have a discussion on developing a resolution about that possibility. So I'd like it underneath on the agenda as a discussion. Okay? Any other business or any other comments from any of the council members? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.